Before I introduce Longhorn, let me discuss two housekeeping things. If you did not, I'm not going to pass them out again. See me after class. If you did not, we're filming, as you can see. We filmed before. If you did not sign a media release last week, I need to have you sign one. So see me after class and get your signature on this thing. Because university requires that they be released if you're in some movie or something. So anyway, that's that. Next, after today, we have one class left. We have class next Thursday. Jim Holt, who is the president of Memphis in May, will be here. And it's always good to see Jim. And you can imagine he likes to talk about Memphis in May. He particularly likes to talk about music festival. Memphis in May is our big month-long fest every year, which has been going on for 30 years. And we get 125,000 people down on the river in our Riverside Park over a 3-day music fest in May.
What kind of music is it, Chris?
All kinds.
You name it, man. We got 4 stages.
I tried to get a hotel room last year. Didn't
Forget
work
it.
too
You
well.
had to go to Jackson, Mississippi, probably. And then 2 weeks after that's the barbecue contest. 300 teams, world largest barbecue contest. Fabulous. Anyway, he'll be here next Thursday. In the meantime, 2 weeks from tonight, as I mentioned last week, I'm going to send around the attendance sheet in a minute. I want you to make a note on there. 2 weeks from tonight, we're not going to have class. There is going to be a Kemmons Wilson Day event dinner, which you folks have been volunteered for. Now, some of you are already taking Carol Silks or Anna Sulfur's class, so you already are up to your eyeballs in this thing. Those of you that are not, I need to know who you are, because you're going to give the school an hour at some point during that afternoon to do some event stuff, whatever they got in mind. You're at their beck and call. So when I send around the attendance sheet in a moment, while these fellows are talking, if you've got Carol Silks or Anna Sulfur's class, make sure you note that on there. If you're going to need an hour to do something, volunteer, quote unquote, for something else, then tell me that too. Next Monday, they're going to come out with an email that's going to be sent to you folks with some type of a sign-up, jobs available, times available, sign-up sheet, and they'll be sending that to you. Anyway, that's it. Any questions, see me after class. Let me introduce Jason and Tony from Longhorn Steakhouse. Take it away, fellas.
Thanks. Good afternoon. Everybody awake?
Yeah.
All right, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. My name's Tony Smith. I'm a director of operations with Longhorn Steakhouse. And we're going to talk a little bit about Longhorn today. We're also going to talk about our parent company, which is Darden brand, and the 7 brands that are associated with Darden. I've been with Longhorn for 15 years. I'm the director of operations, as I said. I'm responsible for 10 restaurants in the Alabama and Mississippi states. This is Jason St. Germain. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself.
My name is Jason St. Germain. I'm the Director of Operations for Longhorn Steakhouse here in Memphis. Recently moved here in June out of Shreveport. I have 3 Longhorns here in Memphis, 2 in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've got some isolated markets west of here, from Texas east here to Memphis. So new in town.
They have him here too. I don't have to drive from Birmingham anymore. We're going to talk a little bit about Longhorn, like I said, and Darden today. And Jason, if you wouldn't mind advancing the slide, we're going to get into a little bit about Darden. If you have questions along the way, this is not real structured, so please feel free to raise your hand or yell out, and I'll certainly address that. We at our Fortune 500 company, obviously at Darden, we consist of 7 different brands that we'll break down momentarily. Very diverse portfolio of category-leading brands. We've got over 1,500 restaurants. We employ over 150,000 employees, and we serve 320 million meals a year. We're also one of the top 35 largest private employers in America. Now, our culture at Darden and the brands is centered on the core values that you see up here on the screen. We're very proud to be a company that treats everyone with respect, a company and that our team members can learn daily and grow rewarding careers. And then being of service is really, really important to us. And you'll hear us talk a little bit about our harvest program as we move forward. But that's just one way that we like to give back to our communities that we serve.
Okay, talk about Darden is a restaurant conglomerate, so it has different brands underneath a corporate umbrella that get traded out over time, whether we buy or sell them, or sometimes, in some occasions, on 2 occasions, I believe, with Smoky Bones. Does anybody remember Smoky Bones? Yeah, that shutdown didn't really work out well. So things get traded out based on their performance underneath the Darden umbrella. Casual dining is what we're known most for. And our casual dining is Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse. Olive Garden is predominantly our largest cash generating brand within the portfolio. It is, I guess could be argued that it is the most successful casual dining brand ever conceived. Whether you like it or not, it has been extremely, extremely successful. And then Longhorn Steakhouse is who Tony and I work for. I go on and on about Longhorn, and we'll talk a little more about it, but I've been doing this for 26 years. I've been with Longhorn for 8 years. My wife worked for Longhorn for 12 years before that, so I've got about 20 years of Longhorn culture, and I can't say enough good things about it. I'd like to get some discussion about that later, because a lot of people tell you how great their culture is, and a lot of people say nobody's going to stand up in front of you and give you say negative things about their company. Longhorn is very genuine, in my opinion. We also have Polished Casual, Bahama Breeze, Seasons 52, and Yard House as well. Yard House and Seasons 52 are our current growth vectors of the 7 brands that are underneath the Darden umbrella right now. So we're looking at expanding those 2 particular concepts moving forward. And then our fine dining, the Capitol Grill and Eddie V's as well. Olive Garden, Darden's first internally developed concept, opened in Orlando in 1982. We were still part of, Darden didn't exist back then. Oh, it existed, but it wasn't a publicly traded company as it is now. It exists under General Mills, which was very large. They did a lot of everything. You're probably familiar with that company. Today, Olive Garden has 837 locations, including 6 in Canada and 30 international locations. Huge sales within the units, in so many of them. To speak to the culture of Olive Garden, Darden as a whole, but specifically Olive Garden, donated 3 million pounds of food to help those in need. We are all part of a program called our Harvest Program, where baked potatoes and pasta and bread and everything else, we collect that, we bag it, and we freeze it, and then we give it to shelters on a weekly basis. Since 2003, donated 33 million pounds of food. It's our largest and highest grossing brand, representing more than half of Darden's total revenue.
Then you have Longhorn Steakhouse. We were founded in 1981 in Atlanta by a gentleman by the name of George McCarroll. He, after he sold his portion of the company, he ended up going, has anybody ever heard of Ted's Montana Grill? No, it's a small, they've got about 50 restaurants, but it's based on bison meat. A lot of their concept is based on bison because Ted Turner had a bison farm. But a side note, 490 plus restaurants right now. We also have 14 in the international scene. Most of our restaurants are located in the Southwest, the Southeast, and the Northeast. Some in the Midwest. We don't have any plans of going west, so if you want to move to California with Longhorn, it ain't going to happen. Okay? We've just turned into a $1 billion company, actually $1.38 billion. And since 2007, when we were acquired by Darden, we've donated 12.5 million pounds of food to the Harvest Program. So you can imagine, we equate that to 12.5 million meals for people in need. It's a pretty cool fact.
Speak to Bahama Breeze for a little bit. Debuted in 1996 in Orlando. 36 restaurants, average unit volume of 5.6 million. Just to give you some perspective on average unit volume, Longhorn's average unit volume 3.1 million. So when you start getting over 5 million, if you've ever worked in a restaurant or thought about restaurants as a place to work at, that's a busy restaurant. Bahama Breeze do well, known for their cocktails. Really not a huge growth vector, but I think they're up in sales this year. They're doing pretty well.
We also have Seasons 52. You have one of those places down on Poplar 240. Anybody ever been to Seasons 52? It's kind of a cool little concept. It's called Seasons 52 because we change the menu every season. Every quarter we have a new menu. And no menu item is above 475 calories. So if you're watching your figure, it's a great place to eat. But it does incredible volume, 5.7 million per unit. It's got 42 restaurants in the U.S. right now. Kind of slow growth, but we see a lot of advantages to this moving forward in the future, especially with the healthy living movement that's going through America right now.
And finally, the Capitol Grill, opened in 1990, Providence, Rhode Island. 56 restaurant, average unit volume of 7.1 million. That is our fine dining brand under the portfolio. All are good places to be a server or bartender. I think if I had to pick a place to serve other than Longhorn, it would definitely be Capitol Grill. Capitol Grill and Longhorn were together under Rare Hospitality when Darden purchased us in 2008. 2007, right? So we're partners with them moving into the Darden portfolio.
Our last concept is obviously fine dining as well. It's called Eddie V's. We acquired this in 2012, so it's our most recent acquisition. And it's got some of the highest volume that you can see there from any of our units of 6 million. There's only 16 restaurants. It started out in Austin, Texas. And the plan at some point is to grow this one a little as well. It's obviously being a high-end restaurant. This is kind of the opposite of Capitol Grill, where Capitol Grill focuses mainly on high-quality steaks. Eddie V's focuses on high-quality seafood. Really cool concept and great food.
Can I ask a question, Tony?
Sure.
I find it interesting that Eddie V started in Austin, Texas. Well, maybe I guess there is Texas seafood, and it's a seafood house.
It's definitely brave, isn't it? Texas is a tough market if you're serving steak. And I can't imagine what they dealt with in that market during that time, but they did really well. They started moving into the Arizona markets, and that's where they really became big, particularly in the bigger metropolitan areas.
Yeah, we just got them, Chris, past few years.
I've eaten at that one in Austin, and the seafood is fabulous.
Isn't it amazing? I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And that's the buzz. If you want seafood in Austin, Texas, you go to Eddie V's because you can trust it to be fresh and
True.
well prepared and that kind of stuff.
That's great. I'm glad it's got that reputation.
And great service.
Excellent.
Agreed. Yard House, this is the one that I think is going to be our growth vector as far as the number of units that we're going to make over the next, build over the next 5 years. More of an upscale. Buffalo Wild Wings, if you look backwards at casual dining, has had massive growth over the past few years. They've slowed down significantly since then. This kind of is more of an upscale style sports bar, better quality food. There's 500 miles of keg line in a Yard House. So they've got somebody whose full-time job is to go in and cut line and make sure all the kegs are fresh and switch them out and switch out all the lines and whatnot. If you've never been to a Yard House, they're a lot of fun and they are very busy. So when we start talking these busier restaurants, and we look for more affluent areas in urban environments where there's a lot more foot traffic next to P.F. Chang's and cheesecake factories and stuff like that, where there's a lot of people out spending money. So Yard House is good if you've never been.
So before I get into getting started with Darden right now, I think it's important to point out, if you're looking at restaurant companies and the restaurant environment right now, you probably heard of some restaurants that have filed bankruptcy lately. You probably heard of some that have closed units. Especially in the casual dining, the traffic isn't necessarily, the foot traffic, yes, isn't necessarily declining. In my opinion, it's more about the, just the influx of so many different options. So what you're gonna see is, you're gonna start seeing some of these drop off. And when that happens, that creates a great opportunity for a company like Darden and Longhorn Steakhouse in particular to start taking market share from other companies. So we're very well poised to do that right now. And I bring that up simply because if you're looking at getting involved in the restaurant industry as a manager in the future, Darden is a very, very strong, very, very stable organization to get involved with in this volatile environment right now. So I wanted to walk through a little bit of how you can get, there's so many different ways you can get involved with our company and particularly Longhorn. The first way is to become a front of the house or back of the house team member. Some of you that may have not worked in the industry, they want to do that to start out and get your feel and not only learn about the industry or decide whether it's something that you want to do, but to get a feel for Longhorn, Darden, and the culture of the operation. So front of the house positions are considered, you know, servers, hosts, bartenders. Part of the house are line cooks, prep cooks, things like that. Or in certain instances, you can you can sign up Rising Seniors. We have a program that we would love to roll out in Memphis at some point, but it's an internship program that you can utilize in between your junior and your senior year. It's a paid internship. It's 40 hours a week for 10 weeks, and we basically take you through the entire management training program. So it's really cool. That if you really want to get your feet wet and get paid to do it and decide whether that's something you want to do, it's a great way to get that and college credit. So that is another option. And then obviously, upon graduation, you can certainly interview with Longhorn, put forth your resume. And the one thing that I would tell you, especially if you're early in your college career right now, is that we really look for leadership and teamwork, some type of leadership and teamwork on your resume. So as you're thinking about building your resume and you start to go out into the workforce for the first time, keep in mind that's what a lot of companies look for, and we do as well. So getting involved in those activities, those groups, being part of team type exercises is something certainly that we like to see on there.
Good. So I'll speak to the culture and the opportunity. I know culture is a very popular word right now. I can tell you that I really do believe that our culture is very genuine, and I feel that a lot of very connected with the people that work for me. I've got about 500 indirect reports and 24 managers and 8 managing partners, and I feel they have my cell phone, they can text me, any of them just about. It's a very connected environment at Longhorn, very much a family. And when you get that and people fall in love with the culture, we get 99% of our GMs, MPs are promoted from within. And so people know what to expect at Longhorn. 30% of our MPs started as an hourly employee with Darden. We promote nearly 1,000 team members a year into management. More than half of our hourly employees move into our MIT program. Let me talk about that for a second. Tony, how many of your managers do you think out of, Tony's got a lot, 20, 30, you have 30 RMs?
I'll get 30 restaurant managers.
How many are MITs?
There are,
I'm sorry, PFWs, that came from hourly ranks.
Restaurant managers from the hourlies?
Yes, sir.
That I've calculated the other day is 55%
Okay.
of mine right now. So 20
Right.
of my restaurant managers I promoted.
And mine are as well, and we find that when people work for us, and I mean, ultimately people don't, for the most part, people don't leave an organization because of money. You know what to expect with money. You negotiate your money when you go into a situation, go into a job. They leave because of the culture and because your boss specifically is why people leave.
I think that's a good point too, is that when you've got a good culture like that, people don't leave. We've got industry-leading turnover, which is the loss of team members. So if you look at our turnover compared to all the other casual dining brands and companies, ours is industry-leading. We also have industry-leading management turnover. So that tells you that people don't want to leave. I mean, I've been here for 15 years. I came from the outside. I wasn't an hourly with Longhorn before I joined them. And to Jason's point earlier, people don't leave if there's a good culture in place. And I think our numbers and our results from that really reflect that.
Yeah, agreed. To put numbers on that, casual dining industry, team member turnover or hourly turnover right now is at about 125, 130%. I talked to Lisa about the other day. Our turnover is right at 65. 60, I think the term we're talking about 65. So we're about half what the industry is in our team member turnover. And if you look at an entire organization, that's a lot of human beings. Our management turnover, the casual dining management turnover right now is about 25 or 30%, and we're at 17.1 is what we were as of yesterday. So, you know, people stick around, and our pay is competitive. It's not the best, in my opinion.
I'll tell you too, as you mentioned pay, I don't think, does anybody out here know what a restaurant general manager, how much money a restaurant general manager makes a year? Throw out some numbers, give me a guess. Okay, what else? 60. Okay. General manager running a $3.1 million restaurant. Most of our general managers are, I'll give you a range. They'll make anywhere from $75,000. I had one make $130,000 last year as a restaurant manager. So if you think of that in terms of what we used to think restaurant managers make and what they actually make now, it's become a very lucrative career for a lot of people, and it's made a lot of families.
Yeah, I would say the average MP makes in this right at around the $90,000 to $100,000.
Now, that begs the question. Explain managing partner to us, if you would.
Well, in the pre-Darden times, it was an actual contract that a managing partner put down $10,000, and they acquired a 1% piece of the revenue growth, and they got 1% of the bottom line. And they also got 10% of their salary plus bonus each year was put into stock. Their initial investment was put into stock, and after 5 years, they could retire that stock, and they would get it back. Or they could renew their contract, and their salary would go up a slight bit, and things like that. So they actually had a vested interest, and some of our competitors still do that. But when Darden came along, they didn't believe in those. So through attrition, we left those, but we didn't want to change the title because we felt that the title had a sense of, it gave people the sense of ownership, and they would work more entrepreneurially than they might without that title, or if we took them to a general manager again. So we didn't want to mess with that.
Now, you're not the only company that does this. I know Houston's is something similar. I'm just not sure how it works, but I know Houston's does something, and your competitor down the street, Fleming's, does something.
Most casual or even fine or any restaurants have gotten away from equity, from using money to buy down. I used to be a managing partner for Ruby Tuesday 16 years ago, and I paid $12,000, and what you get is $12,000. Here's how that played out. So I took $12,000, I gave them, I purchased stock, and they say, Jason, you can't sell that stock for 5 years. You need to stick around. If you quit within the next 5 years, we keep your 12 grand. And in turn, we'll write you a contract where you get a bigger percentage of bottom line profit within the restaurant. We're pretty deep into it here. But what ended up happening is people were let go for various reasons, and it became a matter of they were given their money back sometimes. And once you do that and set a precedent, what do you think lawyers do? If somebody else gets it and they don't get their money back, I'm just going to call my lawyer and I'm going to get my money back. So most places, just because of the legality, the more complicated and more invasive the legal system is in this country year to year, 15 years ago, it worked. Nowadays, really, there's really no skin in the game anymore. It's not such a.
But there are versions of this.
True.
Continuing.
True.
And about what year point in your career does this usually come about?
When I was promoted to Ruby Tuesday, I became a partner right away. In some cases, you had to perform and you had to provide results over time to be able to be offered that contract. So there were situations like that where we had general managers in place that hadn't been offered contracts because of the results in their restaurants. And so it really depended upon the circumstances. And you know, I was a general manager when I first joined Longhorn, but when I was offered a position to go open a new restaurant, I was given a managing partnership for that restaurant. So it's kind of just different in spatial situations.
Politics too, Chris.
Yeah, there's a lot
Your
of
boss
politics.
gotta like you, man, before he's gonna go to his SVP and say, let's get this guy, let's draw him up a contract for this restaurant. You know, they've got to have faith that you're going to do the right thing for a long
Sure.
time for them. So.
And of course, I guess it's gotta be a new restaurant someplace, wherever it's gonna be.
Not
And-
necessarily,
Yeah.
not necessarily. It would be, if we say a new managing partner or a new restaurant, general manager came into an existing restaurant, they may not offer them a contract until they deliver results and can deliver and show that they can do the job. Because it became a little more difficult to terminate if you had a contract.
Contract became the carrot sometimes. So they would have a terribly performing unit out in the middle of Timbuktu. Nobody wanted to move to it. Nobody with talent.
Ocala, Florida, Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, Hinesville, Georgia, that was mine. And then it was like, we'll put you out there, we'll give you a contract if you go to this burning fire and put it out. And sometimes that was the methodology of it. It wasn't just in new restaurants. Okay, on-the-job training is provided, just to talk about from team member perspective. Raise your hand if you worked in a restaurant before. Worked as keep your hand up if you've been a server or an SA or a front of the house position. All right, fantastic, good deal. Raise your hand if you got certified training. If you got a full week of certified training when you were a team member. And keep your hand up if you felt like your training was awesome. Fantastic.
Good.
Okay, good.
You probably
3.
stayed there a while, didn't you?
That's fantastic.
Maybe a little bit.
I think we do a very good job, I'm going to be obviously biased, but of providing certified trainers, of making sure people are trained before we put them out on the floor, that they have some menu knowledge, and that you've tasted food, and that you've gotten the proper classwork time before we turn you loose with the guests. 40 to 80 hours of training, depending on the position, through video and hands-on instructions. Not only is training conducted for the specific job itself, company values and expected behaviors are woven in to reinforce how we treat our guests and how we treat each other. Talk about benefits a little bit. Competitive salary. We fall within the 80th percentile of the casual dining business as far as what we pay as a base salary. And we do have a bonus program at the MP level and then at the RM level as well. Our competitive salary, our midpoint right now, just to share, is at $50,000 for an RM. Entry rates are going to be lower than that. What midpoint means is that if you take tenured and new managers together and average them together, and then we have a bonus program with a $4,500 target, so it's right at, plus the other perks that come with that, you're between 55 and 60 to start, usually is in the ballpark. Managing partners, like Tony and I said, probably about 90 to 100 is the average managing partner. Medical, vision, dental, life, and short and long-term disability. Those are when when state insurance came out a couple years ago. Most companies emulated that as well. So we do have insurance that we match, that the company matches. Dining discount, paid vacation, pet insurance. Threw that one in there. Group legal plan. Darden savings plan, 401k, and employee stock purchase plan. Let's talk about that for a little bit. You will never, unless you want to be an entrepreneur and run your own restaurant, which I've done. I've been $2 million in debt before, and it's very scary. Scariest thing you'll ever do. When you work for a large company, and Tony mentioned it earlier, you want to work for the biggest company. This is my conjecture here. Like, you want to work, Darden has $8 billion a year, and it's not going anywhere. There's an unprecedented number of Chapter 11s this year in the restaurant business because of all kinds of headwinds, political pressure, commodities, the price of commodities and whatnot. Darden is going to be there. We're going to be here right now, we'll be here 20 years from now, where Ruby Tuesdays closed 100 restaurants in the last 3 months, 95 restaurants in the last 3 months.
Joe's just closed, Joe's Crab Shack just closed 14 today.
There you go. What's the local Tennessee one? Logan's.
Cracker Barrel?
No, Cracker Barrel's doing well. They're doing well. They're barely, hold on, their management turnover's almost at 40% right now. It's a nightmare job. My point is this: you never get rich off a paycheck. Where people make money is stock. And if you work for a company that provides 401k program and a stock purchase or stock options, and you participate in those things when you get into higher levels, to mid to higher levels, and you go into nothing, you guys all know this stuff, that it's a long haul thing, If you can start investing in yourself at 24, 25 in a 401k or employee stock purchase and you don't touch it, you'll be retiring at 50. Like you won't have to work forever. But you've got to work for the right company that's matching you with the stock that's going to be around 30, 40 years from now. When I left Ruby, I'll finish on this. When I left Ruby Tuesdays and I sold my stock to go private, it was at $44 a share. And thank God I left, because I think it's at
$3.50.
yeah, it's like $3 a share right now. And just think about that. It's a lot of, it ends up being a lot of money. Employee assistance program, that's for workplace. If people are struggling at home or whatnot, they can get some counseling, and the company will provide that. Flexible work schedules, portable careers over 1,500 restaurants, and career advancement opportunities in a Fortune 500 company. One more thing, I want to talk about the average work week at a Longhorn as an RM, because that bears talking about. So all these popular concepts right now are sports bars, beer, brew houses, all that. We're building them. We're building yard houses. That's a brew house. Think about what that means for for the managers that work there. A lot of them go and think about work about Applebee's, TGI Fridays, Jessica. I mean, it's like you think you go in there at 3 o'clock. What time are your managers leaving? 1, 2, 3 on a Tuesday night. Let me tell you, no matter what your age, that gets old very quickly. Our hours of operation at Longhorn are 11 to 10 Sunday through Thursday, and then 11 to 11 on Friday and Saturday. And if you ever get to the management level, that translates into a massive quality of life where every other concept is staying open later, trying to sell more alcohol to improve their sales. The managers don't get paid much more. They're just there. They're just there more. They're getting home at 3:30 in the morning at BJ's Brew House, and they might get a couple more $1,000s on that initial management sign up, but their quality of life's no good. Longhorn managers probably work 50 to 55 hours a week. Easily, is what I'm guessing.
I'll tell you, Jason, before you leave, go back to that last slide if you would. Pet insurance. That is the first time I've ever seen it as a benefit. So Longhorn actually has a group pet insurance policy that employees can buy into.
The deductible on Goldfish is like $700, so.
Never seen that. Mike, have you ever seen that?
I've heard about it.
I've heard about it.
I think, I checked into it at one point because my wife was a cat hoarder, but that's true. It's a long story. I won't go into it. We cured her, but once again through attrition. But I checked into it. It was if you take your animals to the vet a lot, it'll save you a lot of money. It was pretty impressive. But not only did these things listed up here, but we've got pages and pages of benefits. And do they have access to that on our website? Probably have a little bit.
I don't
Maybe
think
a little bit.
Perhaps.
There's also another advantage of being part of a top 35 largest company is the fact that a lot of vendors give your employees discounts. So on our intranet, which is called Crowd, we've got a benefits page that you can go to. Say you're getting ready to buy a new laptop. You can go and see what discounts you're going to get on a laptop. I get 20% off my cell phone bill because I'm a Darden employee. That's a lot of money, especially when you got 4 kids. A lot of cell phones, but it's true. It adds up. So that's just an example of some of the things you get when you're working for a larger scale company.
Agreed. MIT program, talk about that for a little bit. It's an 8 to 12 week training program. If you're an external hire, it's about 10 weeks. We train externals a little bit longer, meaning that we hire from outside of a restaurant. And then our PFW stands for Promote From Within. Those are our hourlies that we bring up into management. And that's 9 weeks.
For heart of the house, it's 9 weeks. Or excuse me, for front of the house, it's 9 weeks. Heart of the house, it's 8.
Oh, okay.
Because you spend less time in the kitchen.
Okay. 3 phases. We train somebody at all the team members. If you were going into management, salary management, it would be 8, 9, or 10 weeks. The first phase is, for the most part, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's front of the house. You would study service. You follow a server, a trainer. You would follow a host. You would follow the bartender. The second phase is heart of the house, where you would be working with the grill cook, working char cook, salad fry. And then the final phase focuses on service, culinary or bar host manager. You get to play the role of manager before. Then we send you to Orlando for a week for like a polishing and food.
Classroom
Yeah,
environment.
classroom
Blows
environment.
people away. I've never had one new manager come back and say anything other than that was the most amazing experience I've ever had. Because we literally take you into the test kitchen and make you cook steaks, right? We have all kinds of classroom on leadership and how to deal with those people problems that you may face at times. Because really, you could think we're in the food business, but as restaurateurs, we're really in the people business. It's all about people and what we do. So it's a really cool experience. People love it.
Yeah, the executive team always goes out with the MITs and splits up and sits at all the different tables, so you'll sit with the president of a different concept or whatnot. Or it's very cool, very intimate. During the final phase of training, the MIT receives hands-on day-to-day operations that you'll be responsible for leading after the MIT program. GMs will participate in ongoing training opportunities to sharpen and advance their skills. And Tony and I both spend, people ask what do directors do, we do, and that's really, we take care of our management teams in a support role, but I feel like our most vital role and what I hold myself most accountable to is my management turnover, even though I don't work with them every day in the same building. Like my managers they need to work for their managing partner, but they also they're gonna wanna work for me as well. So we spend a lot of time with MITs.
Absolutely. Agreed. Basically, through the training program, we take you through the hourly functions, every hourly function. And we don't need you to be the best grill cook, right? We don't need you to be the best salad fry cook. We just need you to understand the tools and processes and procedures that go into it to the point that you can teach it, right? So if you know the stuff but you're slow, that's great. That's all we need from a manager. And then we teach you the management functions, right? So everything a manager does, whether it be placing orders, whether it be how to run the wait on a Friday or Saturday night, all those things that a manager does, we give you exposure to that. And then the biggest thing, especially coming in from the outside, is that culture piece that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So important that we have people that can absorb the culture so they can help us transfer that in other ways and keep this great company alive.
Yeah, I agree. If you go to work, there's good days and bad days with whatever that you choose to do. But if you consistently go to your job and it's miserable every day and your bosses are miserable, that's not where you want to work at. Can I pledge to you that Longhorn Steakhouse is always perfect? No. But our management, it just shows in our turnover. You want to get statistical? Look at a company's turnover. Like that really is like, why would 100 and some % of people want to quit that job within a year?
Very similar benefits there from a manager in training.
Yeah. Paid vacation, closed Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, 3 flex days.
I think another neat one there is this adoption benefit. A lot of companies don't offer that, and that's just one of those other ways that we think about giving back and helping.
Agreed. Tuition reimbursement plan. Trying to see if there's anything on here. The employee stock purchase plan, I think, is the best one. I just think that's a great program.
Questions? As you can see, we're not afraid to talk.
Yeah, we'll chat.
Sir?
As I mentioned to you, I've been in the Hilton organization for a long time, involved with training and customer service skills and that type of thing. And I can tell you that in the hotel industry, we're finding it more and more difficult to find people who can adopt a people type of culture. And I'm just curious about your experience with that.
We struggle with it.
Having the same challenge?
I do. I'll speak for myself because and Jason can probably agree with me. Finding that servant's heart is very difficult for whatever reason today, and you really have to spend a lot more time and energy sourcing the right people. It's where your interview skills become very, very important, and then helping mold that mentality when they get in the organization. I think that's where getting somebody to really believe in our culture and our core values. I think if they can really adopt them, we kind of get through a lot of that. But there's no doubt that heart that was around 15 or 20 years ago, it's becoming fewer and far between. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are, if you look at, we hire young folks. We do. We hire young folks to be servers, to be bartenders, and my manager. I'd say my average management age is what for you, Tony? Mr. Gunny,
26, 28.
This is a matter of conjecture. It's just opinion. Like, I think that the new generation is more emotionally intelligent than unprecedented.
Absolutely.
because of the amount of information just compiling. And I think the best point is when you have a good environment, people tend to, it brings out the best in people. And so somebody who's maybe a negative natured person comes work for us, I'm not saying I swear, like it either puts people in line with us when we're working together, and a lot of times it improves, at least while they're there at work. A lot of people love to come to work because it's the happiest place that they are, for whatever reason. So I don't know. Mike, to answer your question, I think it's in the environment that the leadership creates within the restaurant. If you've got leadership that is in the restaurant, the managing partner, that is the be-all, end-all culture setter. They do everything like every other manager, except for the hiring and the firing. And if you've got a good MP that knows how to hold people accountable and understand and be empathetic and be emotionally intelligent at the same time, you'll have a good restaurant and you'll find the right people. They'll make it work. They make it work.
And to kind of piggyback on that, I think a lot of it is being adaptable and really thinking about, is this the right fit for the right person? It drives me crazy when I walk into a restaurant, one of my managers just hired somebody that can't smile and puts them at the front door. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Put them in the kitchen. They may be more happier there. They obviously don't like people. So I think a lot of it's that and managers making the right decisions. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And the turnover's low. Not turnover, the unemployment in the United States is very low right now. So if people want to get another job that's in the lower bracket income, you can go get another job very quickly. You know what I mean? Like that takes minutes now.
What has this $15 an hour minimum wage push done for you folks, or to you folks, if anything?
In my opinion,
It's all opinion, yeah.
it'll crush a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it won't just be the restaurant business, man. Little.
And all your prices are going to go up because you got to pay people to make stuff. I mean, if you're paying them, right now, minimum wage is $7.25. You double that, where's that money going to come from? Where's the business? Are they just going to pull it out of the bag? They can't do that.
Yeah.
They're going to raise their prices, and then what's the grocery store going to do? Raise your prices. What's the gas station going to do? Raise your prices because they got to cover that. So it's in theory, it sounds like a good idea. In my opinion, it would crush business.
Yeah, we become a country. Our biggest export's intellectual property. Like we don't build, we don't manufacture anymore. We take care of each other. We feed each other. We clothe each other. We take care of each other when we're sick. Like that's really the state of affairs, in my opinion. So it's my opinion, but it would do a ton of damage. That model works, I think, in smaller European countries, that especially where it's been done for centuries. I don't know if we just pop that on the United States, if that's going to be a good idea or not. Like that's, Tony, exactly, how much is a gallon of milk? You've heard that. How much is a gallon of milk going to cost? What it would be, I think how the restaurant industry would react, casual dining there would be a lot more casual dining folding because we wouldn't be able to afford servers, Do
you know what the average restaurant, how much for every dollar the average restaurant brings in if they actually take the profit? Bottom line profit out of every dollar. How much do you think? Throw some numbers out there.
5%.
15 cents?
No, I
5%?
said
I was
5.
thinking 60.
3 to 5 pennies for every dollar is the profit that a restaurant can make. The average restaurant in America, that's an NRA, National Restaurant Association figure. You thought they made more, didn't you? And most people would think that. It's a cash flow business. It's all about cash flow. It's not about profitability.
Yeah, we're at like 8 cents, and we're a very successful thing, a very successful brand.
What else we got for Jason and Tony? I know you folks have some questions.
You said something about extra credit for questions.
Career advice, job interviews.
How many of you are seniors? Any? Juniors? Okay, start thinking about your resume.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
Choo choo.
Hit that senior mark, you better start putting resumes out. 'Cause number one, it's going to take you a while. Number two, you want to find the right place for you. All right? So That's my career class.
Yeah, I agree. Servers too, you know, I have a degree in microbiology and cell science and a minor in chemistry from the University of Florida in my closet. So, you know, I definitely chose to go that direction, and then I stayed with the restaurant business. We were talking earlier, Jess and I were talking earlier about, she's a restaurant person now. Once it gets in your blood, you gotta like to be physical. You know, you gotta like the physicality of it, you know, whether you're front of the house or back of the house, being on your feet, moving a lot. You know, you've gotta do a good job, have a good servant's heart, make people feel at ease very quickly when you speak with them. You know, there's some things we can't teach, but you guys know if you got them or not. You know, some people just look at me and they're like, I'm not a server, but I'm a great cook, but I'll never be a server. And it's like, well, if you know it.
I've got a brochure here for you that I'm going to hand out to everybody. And it kind of will recap some of Longhorn's core values. You saw our core values up there, but it also gives you just kind of a background of some of the things that we offer that we talked about today. And I'll also leave you,
You can probably.
yeah, this one. I've got some gift cards for you. I want you to come in, I'll buy you dinner. No other questions?
Nothing else for Jason or Tony? Let's hear it for him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the gifts, fellas.
Yeah, for sure.
Starving college students.
Now, if you need to sign a media release, see me after class. Who's got my attendance sheet?
If you guys are looking for a job in Memphis, I've got the 3 restaurants